very good morning to all the corners. We will now start in a few minutes, so sit back and relax while we wait for others to join us. And don't forget to follow our carnival social media at Clover Carnival. This carnival is organized by the National Clover Council, so make sure to follow us too at Projek Clover to get more updates on other programs coming soon. Also, don't miss your chance to grab our National Clover Guides merchandise. You can get a t-shirt at a price as low as 25 ringgit or a bucket hat for 13 ringgit, or you save your penny when you buy the combo pack, a t-shirt and a bucket hat at only Rm35. For more information, you can visit our social media at Projek Clover.
Recording in progress.
Elizabeth and Mrs. ANITA. We'll start in a few minutes, so maybe you can sit back and relax for a while before we start, alright?
Hello, good morning. Thank you.
welcome everyone to the Clover Carnival 2022. I'm Samantha, your moderator for today. This year, we are going to have a very special session, which is a forum session to discuss interesting topics to empower women. In line with our theme this year, we will be discussing the title Self-Care, Know Your Rights and Responsibilities in today's forum session. To our audience watching live from YouTube, feel free to ask questions in the comment section. So before we proceed with our forum today, I would like to introduce a little bit about our panelists today. So let us welcome our first panel, Ms. Elizabeth GERARD, with us to discuss today's topic. A little bit of background on Ms. Elizabeth. She has a passion for advocacy, beginning with her active involvement in pastoral youth work and girl guiding. She realized that privilege should be used to empower others to achieve their greatest potential in bringing about positive life changes. Hence why Ms. Elizabeth devotes her time to work that equips youth and with sustainable skills. Recently, she co-founded Projek Lilin, an online safe space for youths in Malaysia to support peers through their common struggles. The campaign also advocates for greater affordability and accessibility of youth community mental health care. Currently training as a professional counselor, she hopes to serve the youth and marginalized communities in Malaysia upon completing her postgraduate studies. An ever-curious traveler, Elizabeth believes in experiencing life through the stories and cultures of others. Hi, Miss Elizabeth. How are you feeling today?
Hi everyone, hi Samantha. Thank you for having me. I'm feeling quite excited for today. Thank you.
Great to hear that from you. So together with Miss Elizabeth, we will also be having Miss Ruby Choi HENG. Ruby is a UPN alumni class of 2020 from the Faculty of Human Ecology and is a recipient of the Royal Education Award and Tun Abdul Raza Award during the 44th UPN convocation ceremony. Currently, she is working as a Management Associate Group Human Resources with the world's largest manufacturer of gloves. She has been a Girl Guide for over 13 years and also a Queen's Guide Badge 2013. She's a Juliet Low Seminar Alumni 2019, and with that, she's a strong advocate for SDG 5, gender equality, and a part of the WAC's International Volunteer Resource Pool. Recently, she is the newly appointed Vice President of the Malaysian Youth Council, as known as MUM, chairperson of the Women and Family Affairs Bureau, which focuses on youth-related issues pertaining to women empowerment, mental health, and family affairs. Welcome, Ms. Ruby. Are you excited for today's forum?
Hello, Samantha and Elizabeth. Thank you for having me. And of course, yes, very excited. Looking forward for the next 1.5 or 1 to 1.5 hours.
Similar to you, I bet everyone is excited as well. Last but not least, allow me to introduce our last panel speaker, Mrs. ANITA Abu Bakar. Mrs. ANITA is the founder and president of the Mental Illness Awareness and Support Association, as known as MIASA. She is a strong and known advocate for mental health and social issues in Malaysia and internationally. She initiated the first peer-led mental health advocacy and support group in Malaysia. As Anita was born and raised overseas, she subsequently pursued her tertiary education at Tulsa University, Oklahoma in the United States. Through MIASA, Mrs. Anita champions the recovery model and the human rights-based approach simultaneously, striving for the non-coercive treatments and deinstitutionalization. Mrs. Anita also established the Orchid Clubhouse, which is the Malaysia's first mental health crisis management and activity center, which is peer-led and peer-run. Not only that, Mrs. Anita also initiated the National Alliance for Mental Health, as known as NAM, in 2021 and was appointed as the chairperson. The various support services and activities that Mrs. Anita helped initiate include MIASA's 24/7 crisis helpline, conducting home visits, food baskets for the B40 groups and homeless folks, and more. In December 2019, MIASA achieved another milestone for Malaysia by organizing the International Mental Health Recovery Conference 2019 with the team Experts by Experience, which MIASA later became part of the steering committee for TCI Global. Welcome, Mrs. Anita. How are you feeling right now?
I'm good. I'm well, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good as well. So I guess all of our panelists are geared up for it, and everyone is excited to start the forum, isn't it? To discuss the topic self-care, know your rights, and responsibilities. So without further ado, I would like to invite our panels to give their opinions on a few questions related to this topic that will give bright views to the audience. Ministry of Health, as known as MOH Malaysia, data showed that between January and December 2020, a total of 1,080 attempted suicide cases were reported to have received treatment at MOH hospitals. This statistics shows that self-care is very, very important and might harm us if we only take it as a light issue, especially in this very challenging era. So, Ms. Elizabeth, can you give your opinion about the phrase self-care is your own responsibility, not others? Do you agree? And how can someone be accountable for their own self-care, particularly in terms of mental health?
Yeah, thank you very much, Samantha. And I think that's a very important question to ask, right? Regarding self-care. I definitely agree that all of us are responsible for our own self-care. Self-care isn't only for our own well-being, but it's actually for the benefit of those we love and work with also. Okay, a lot of times we don't realize just how much our little words or little feelings and actions that we do can actually influence the dynamics of the group or the people around us. I personally believe I grew up with the belief that our life perspective becomes more meaningful when we are continuously refreshed on the inside. Okay, and I think someone can be accountable for their self-care through first practicing self-awareness. So self-awareness about how your values, your thoughts, your feelings all influences your choices. And then secondly, after you have gained that self-awareness, to actually learn different ways of coping, effective regulation skills that will eventually help to improve your resilience, your psychological resilience. So meaning that whenever you are faced with obstacles in your life, you are quite fast in terms of getting back on track. You don't dwell in the sorrow, or you don't dwell in the pain or the struggle, but you are able to bounce back up and to be able to tackle the issue head on. So for example, setting aside even rest time or reflection time, where you can incorporate like simple mindfulness techniques, like just paying attention to what you see, what you hear, using your five senses, right? What you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you touch, what you taste, and grounding exercises as well. Paying attention to the different sensations around you, or even when you're eating, you don't just gobble up your food, but you actually take time to appreciate the taste and the flavors and whatnot. And I think lastly, something that's quite important also is probably to have a sounding board. So someone who is able to help you, like be your mirror. Okay, so in terms of like helping you to listen to actually what are you saying, what are you actually feeling right now, and perhaps to help you think about different ways of approaching your situation. That's actually what we do in Projek Lilin. We train volunteers with like empathetic listening skills to help their peers, to find solutions together. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth. That is an interesting side from you. And yeah, I do agree that self-awareness is really, really important for self-care, where we actually focus on these factors, where we actually build up our resilience and coping mechanism when we are facing difficulties. And of course, no man is an island, so we should have seek help whenever we are in a bind, so that we can actually, stay together and we can actually work together to actually overcome the difficulties. Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Elizabeth. So next, I would like to hear from Ms. Ruby on the next point of view. As we know, Ms. Ruby is the Vice President, Malaysian Youth Council and Civil Rights and Social Action. So, as a career woman, how do you make sure you have time to take care of yourself in terms of physical, emotional, and mental health despite being so busy working all week?
Thanks, Sam, for the question. Actually, when this question was given to me, I was actually really thinking whether, if you ask me personally, do I really have that self-care? Now, in a working life, and I'm sure later on, a lot of you, because Clovers, most of you will be like, all of you are 18 to 30. So definitely you all will be either studying or you are transitioning to your internship or going to study, or going to either you further study or you will go to enter the workforce, correct? So personally, if you ask me, all this, we always talk about work-life balance. And we always talk about work-life balance, and the latest key words that we use right now, the terms that we use right now is work-life integration. So how do you actually integrate whatever that you do in your life or whatever you are currently studying in your university and so on? How do you integrate it into your own personal life? So if you were to ask me, I always think, and I echo to what Elizabeth said, a very important support system is, support system is something that is very important. And in fact, if you were to ask me, how do I manage to survive? I used the word survive, huh? How do I manage to survive my whole university life up until today as a working human, is really come back to your own support group. Be it, of course, it could be your family, that's like your immediate, but if not, for me personally, also have a lot of friends. And to give some tip for those who are studying, I always mention this when I give talk, is back then in my university life, I actually have my own mentor/counselor. So I think that a lot of people perceive that when they talk about counselor, they always think that, oh, it means you are not performing well, or you budak masalah or anything. But honestly, it really comes back to what you are looking for. So I do have a mentor/counselor. He's a counselor, but actually I call him my mentor or my coach to actually guide me along the way. And even until today, while I'm still working, sometimes when I feel like I really don't know what to do, I feel so lost, and I feel like I need some professional advice, that I'll still contact him. Hello, Encik Zain, can you help me? I need you to give me some advice on this, or can you tell me how do I go through that phase? Then, he will use some counseling or coaching techniques to help me to find the answer myself. So sometimes it's how we need this kind of support system, to really support us in our daily life. And perhaps one more thing I could share as well is, okay, everybody has 24 hours a day. Now, when it comes to time, it's very important when we talk about time management. So as a working adult as well, working young adult, okay, I'm not above 30, I'm still below 30, so I consider myself as a young adult. We tend to be very engrossed to our work. It's very normal, especially if, let's say in the future, if you already graduated or while doing your internship, it's very normal that you will work maybe above or more beyond your working hours, and it's completely fine, because sometimes we just got out there, we want to explore more, we are very curious, we want to get every experience that we have, so it's very normal. But as time goes, to me, it's a phase. As time goes, you might be a little bit burnt out, and it's how you manage that burnout that actually helps you to come back. Later, the next question, I will talk a bit more about resiliency. How is it very important when it comes to working? For me personally, I just always choose to do what I enjoy. So work can never finish, work can never end. It's something that everybody has to notice and realize. Work can never end. So if, let's say, today you have something to do, even currently when you're planning for a project or even your university also, today you might have something to do and you can never finish it, you can always continue it tomorrow. And like I said, do what you enjoy. I'm a kind of person who, either I go out with my friends, sometimes I don't, sometimes I just stay at home. So it's like a hybrid for me. I go out to makan or go badminton. Then sometimes, like today, I'm just sitting at home, I'm gonna rot the whole day, but it's fine. Nothing you ever do, it's a waste of time. So I personally think that as long as you are saying you are okay, you are well, and then it really helps you in your work and your personal relationships and so on. So that's a little bit from me. Back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Miss Ruby. So I guess everyone heard her saying that, if you're wandering mindlessly in life like her previously when she was having a hard time in the career or something, and maybe you can seek help from someone who is experienced and professional. Don't feel shy, because that's how you can actually get guidance and advice. And if you don't actually take the initiative, how can they know that you are in a bind, all right? So next one is, of course, time management is really, really important. Get your priorities right. And of course, that's how you get your most important work done first before you actually indulge in something else that's maybe, second to your first priority. So, and of course, you have to actually love what you're doing so you can indulge in it or maybe overindulge. Yeah, engross yourself in it. And while you're working, I think if you love what you work, I think you actually get your life done. So yeah, so I also have an interesting question for Mrs. Anita. So Mrs. Anita, self-care can be defined by many aspects. For instance, physical, mental, as well as emotional. So from your point of view, how vital is self-care and how far it may impact our day-to-day life?
All right, thank you very much, Samantha, for the question. Hi, everyone. Hi, Elizabeth, and also Ruby. It's extremely vital. I wish that this conversation happened during my younger days. And the reason for this is because growing up, self-care wasn't something that was highlighted upon. So although, just to give you a little bit of background, although I was very active during my schooling and university years, but I only did it because it was my passion, it was part of my hobbies. And then when I, got married, had children and started working, and then you don't have that time anymore, rather you don't invest in it. And that is when it takes a toll on you. So just for the information of everyone, I'm a person with a lived experience of a mental health condition. So it's very important for you to really listen to what I have to say, because when you are being diagnosed or you have a diagnosis of a mental health condition, it can be very debilitating, and it can be a very lonely journey, and it's also very challenging for you to go through that recovery process. And especially if you do not have a good support system, which Elizabeth and Ruby mentioned earlier, which is really one of the key protective factors as well. And of course, learning effective coping mechanisms, because we can have these this discussion today, which is really important, but it doesn't mean that if you follow this today, tomorrow you'll get better, because it's consistency, and it also must come from a very holistic approach. So that means that many components need to come in, or you need to invest in many components for that process to become very effective. So self-care is truly vital in that sense. So we've gone through this pandemic, right? Now we're in post-pandemic, in this endemic phase, and obviously no one is not stressed today. We're all going through, we're all struggling with something, especially students, right? I think when the first lockdown happened, we were all caught in a very unfamiliar situation. We were all really truly anxious. There were a lot of uncertainties, and it overwhelmed understanding, right? Being cut off from our social support system, from effective coping mechanisms. And I remember during the time being MIASA, we had a lot of students reached out to us because they were in extreme isolation, especially those that have gone overseas and then now they found themselves within their dormitories, unable to do anything during the time. So imagine that fear and that panic. And I hope we don't have this perception that now that it's the endemic that people are not struggling today. Some people are struggling even more, and especially because the impact of the pandemic, where it exacerbated a lot of these emotions, and a lot of things happened, right? Loss of loved ones, reduction in income, a lot of people lost jobs, long COVID happened, people with more severe physical conditions found themselves having anxiety, depression. Yesterday, interestingly enough, which isn't surprising, that WHO is now drawing our attention to the urgency of investing in mental health services, urging countries across the world, across the globe, because a quarter of people around the globe now have a mental health condition. We're looking at one in eight, which is a very worrying number. And in more conflict countries that are going through conflicts, we're looking at 1 in 5. And Samantha, you just mentioned earlier in your introduction, where we're looking at suicide rates increasing and rocketing, and it's really the irony of the whole thing. It's not something new, right? Throughout human history, we've been seeing this. throughout pandemics, epidemics, war, famine, whatever tragedies that might happen, across the globe, people do fall into these different situations. But the irony of it is we are still unprepared today. So we need to move aggressively. And of course, awareness programs, discussions and public discourses like today, it's really crucial because we're normalizing this discussion. So now the younger people, especially students, you know what to do. You're aware, right? Self-awareness, rightfully mentioned earlier, very important. Having that support system, crucial, that self-regulation, but the emotional regulation part, where we've been witnessing throughout our work in MIASA, where a lot of people growing up, especially with the trauma that they've gone through, as an example, or maybe negligence or absent parents, an example, or maybe you feel embarrassed or maybe ashamed to kind of express yourselves, right? So you keep it in. All these things are not helping, guys. So if you are indeed going through something, you're indeed going through some mental health challenges, the first thing to do is talk to someone. Talk to someone that you trust. Please do not talk to any Tom, Dick, and Harry, because it could worsen what you're going through, and your worst fears may become true because they might be dismissive. They might not be able to validate what you're going through, because this is not something easy. It's a very complex thing, but please understand that being vulnerable is a strength. It's really powerful because then the other person knows that you need help, right? So don't be ashamed and don't be afraid. And we're all here together to hold that space. So indeed, Samantha, it's vital, it's crucial. And I hope we can continue this discussion even once this forum ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Anita. Very beautiful insight. And I believe that everyone actually can feel this at a personal level when we always juggling, life, or your family, your work, your studies at the same time, and it eventually takes a toll on our mental health and of course our physical health as well. And then we are prone to actually, depression or anxiety that will actually make situation worse. And of course, when the pandemic actually befell, we actually, we were taken aback. But right now, we can see that everything is getting better. So, despite our history is full of pandemics, and mental health issues, but we still managed to walk our way here. We still managed to progress from that. So yeah, rainbows always come after rain. So everyone, if you are in a very, very hard time, don't give up hope because the light will eventually shine in your life. So although the recovery process will actually be challenging and lonely, as Mrs. Anita said, you have others. We are all in this together. One for all and all for one. So don't lose hope and actually seek for professional help if you need. So without further ado, we have actually finished our first round, and I hope the audience are enjoying our forum session. To our audience watching from the YouTube Live, again, feel free to ask questions to our panels in the comment section. We'll have a short Q&A session later. So without further ado, let's start round 2. We all acknowledge that nowadays women are having better rights in getting an opportunity in a job, including the one monopolized by men. Therefore, the challenges are also different for these women to maintain their performance in their career, but at the same time not forgetting to care about their rights as a woman. All of our panelists today are very excellent in their career, as we can see. So, of course, they have their own point of view regarding this. Maybe we can start again with Miss Elizabeth. Miss Elizabeth, do you mind sharing any tips from your self-care routine that our participants may benefit from and apply in their daily lives?
Thank you. Before I share my own self-care tips, I just want to re-emphasize what both my fellow panelists have mentioned earlier, that all of us have very different ways of coping with the struggles that we have in our daily life, and especially as young women and also adults going into the working world for our first year, or some of us haven't even graduated yet, right? And so you're probably anticipating what is going to be like. These are the tips that I'm going to share are my own tips. Some of you may relate, some of you may not. But I hope that you'll be able to see just how personalized self-care routine can be. And there is no competition of my self-care routine has to be this. It has to follow a certain structure or so certain format. Whatever works for you works. Okay. So for me personally, actually every morning before I get ready to go to work, I actually spend some time, I'm a Christian, so I actually spend some time reading my Bible or to listen to some worship music. So for some of you, you may be reading your Al-Quran or your whatever your religious scripture texts are. Some of you may even do things like yoga with meditation, or I think there was something that was kind of trending during the pandemic called the Ikigai, which is like the Japanese concept of living a lifestyle that is filled with purpose. So the reason why I mentioned this first is because I believe that our spiritual health actually greatly influences our mental health too. Some of us have our religious teachings as our values in life, and I am of the theoretical orientation in counseling where values very much influence every decision that we make. Okay, so it could be religious for you, it could be spiritual for you. Whatever that you believe in will help you be so for me, it's do whatever you believe would help you to be in the mindset that you want to be in to live your day, right? So every morning when you wake up, it's so important to reset your mindset. You may have woken up with a very painful back, or you were hiking yesterday and then you're in pain the whole day, right? Don't let that dictate how you live your life today. Another thing is probably keeping a physically healthy lifestyle. I feel a bit hypocritical saying this because I actually don't like exercising. I don't like sweating and stuff like that. But I do make it a point that I try to be as physically active as I can in terms of things like climbing up the stairs, using the stairs instead of using the lift, for example, right? Every week I try to go hiking with my friends. If I can't go hiking, then I'll try to do an activity. If I have other engagement, I'll make sure that the engagement keeps me physically moving around. So sometimes I help out with girl guiding activities or like anything at all, as long as I'm moving around as much as I can. And probably also to maintain a balanced diet. Once again, I don't eat clean. I'm not a very clean person, but I am mindful of what I choose to eat every day. So it could be eating a very balanced diet. And I think another thing is also taking care of your skin and also your hair. Why I say this is because a lot of people kind of neglect that the largest organ in our body is our skin, right? And I don't think there is anything wrong with wanting to look beautiful, having a healthy skin, having a healthy hair, right? So a lot of times I am mindful about what I choose to eat, what I choose to consume, how do I take care of myself, because I am a very reactive person. So when I'm stressed, you will see it all over my face. So that is how I know, okay, I need to chill, I need to relax, I need to take care of myself. And this one, probably a lot of people may find it very controversial, but I actually don't check my messages or my emails after work hours or during the weekends. That's very difficult to do, I know, for some people, but that's really how I need to tune off, because I am a counselor in a school setting, and oftentimes there are a lot of crisis situations that may arise and throughout my work day, my work week, right? So during the weekends and during after working hours is when I detach myself from everything that has been happening. I make sure to check in with myself to know how I'm feeling and how I'm doing, and that's when the time when I also replenish myself by either reading or just spending time with my loved ones or with myself, so that when I enter into the work week again the following week, I am refreshed and I don't feel drained. Yeah, and sorry, I know I said lastly just now, but I had another thing. I love pastries and dessert. So every day, not every day, almost every day, I will treat myself to something sweet for tea time. Yeah, so that's how I do my self-care.
Thank you, Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, I feel you. I don't like going out as well. I'm an introverted person, but as you have said, do whatever that works for you. And I agree with that because my friends like they go hiking every single week, and I was like, oh my god, that is so exhausting for me. Okay, so what I do is like I set my phone to non-disturb mode. Like after 10 p.m. Yes, I don't see my messages after that because I want some me time just to replenish myself, just to get those energy back for tomorrow. And of course, although I don't like sweating, but I try to make myself exercise, like, maybe do 15 minutes of, yoga at home. And since I like quiet places, so I just stay silent for a short while just to actually, think about anything I want or just space out. And that's how it actually replenish my energy back. And if you're an extroverted person, of course, and you get energy back while spending time with others, just go on. Just head out. Now all the rules are actually lenient and you can actually go out wherever you want. And yeah, as Miss Elizabeth has stated, be mindful of what you feed your stomach because what you feed, that's what makes you. So take a balanced diet, be healthy, stay healthy, so that you can always feel beautiful and gorgeous, and that's when you feel very confident. Because if you feel confident, you feel you're on top of the world, you can do anything in your life. Seriously, I'm not joking because that's how my process was when I was actually trying to on my feet from my very very deep down struggles back then. And yeah, that's how I actually came until today, where I'm very brave enough to speak up in front of everyone right now. Yeah, so I hope that will actually help others to, shine in their own little world. So next, let's hear from Miss Ruby's perspective on how self-care enables women to support and care for others in their community. Hence, in your opinion, how can women be empowered through self-care?
Great. The question given to me is how can women be empowered through self-care? Now, if you were to ask me, self-care definitely empowers everyone, okay? Of course, you may not see it directly, but most of the time in my experiences, you actually see it indirectly. Let me share with everyone here one of the stories that I actually heard. This is an actual story that happening in my company. So I do a very simple example. I have this manager because I'm under human resources. So one of the managers, she actually informed us that she jog every morning. She wakes up at 6. She takes a light breakfast. She goes for a jog, half an hour, comes back, get ready, and then go to work. Also, this is just like one part. And then another one I heard, I think just last week, where we had a meeting with the senior management about the culture, how do we, change and to improve the culture of the company. So one of the senior management, he's the chief financial officer, the CFO. He mentioned that, I have to, now it's so stressful because of course, the endemic phase, that what Miss ANITA mentioned, although it's in the endemic phase, but actually not just the individual, a lot of companies, some are still struggling. A lot of them are actually still struggling on how do they jump back into the market. So definitely the senior management, you imagine that as a leader, right, of the organization, how much stress that you actually have, to make sure that your company survive and you don't want to retrench people at all. So what happens is that he also mentioned, the CFO mentioned, I still need to go out and play badminton. He goes out and play badminton. I still need to go out for jogging, play badminton, swimming and whatnot, because if I don't distress myself, then really I cannot take it anymore. So it really shows that, how this self-care is very important for you to develop yourself as a leader. So that's my first point. So as a leader, we need to have very high resilience, as I mentioned earlier. So what is resilience? Resilience is basically how do you bounce back from a problem? How do you bounce back from your stress? when you face when you face problems or challenges, whether in your studies or currently if you're still studying, when you are, even hosting an event, or when you go out in the working, your manager or your leader gives you a task and forces you to complete it, let's say within a week, but actually that task needs you to do it at least a month. You need to squeeze it in a week. So stress is inevitable, but how do you bounce back from the challenges, bounce back from the stress? It really comes back to your own self-care. Like, different people have different ways, that Elizabeth mentioned earlier. It's very customized to your own need. Personally, for me, I also don't really like a lot of exercises like Elizabeth, but I do enjoy like group exercises like badminton. I just played badminton I think Wednesday or Tuesday. I just went out with my friends to play badminton. So each person have different ways. I have colleagues or friends who enjoys to do yoga, so they don't like to play badminton, they just like to do yoga. So it's perfectly fine. So that's why personally I can see a lot of people at the moment, and I can tell you all, especially those who are still studying, company now, they are really looking at this core element, which is called resiliency. So you'll notice later on, I can share with you from my personal experience, is that a lot of young people nowadays, including myself, my batch, and also the ones younger than me, a lot of them tend to have low resilience. And how do we see that? When the company face challenges and they put you a lot of stress, then there's this great resignation where so many people resign. It's only those people who really stay in the company and to go through this challenge together are those who are really resilient. A lot of times, a lot of young people now, they join a company, 6 months they resign, 1 month they resign. Actually, that's not what a lot of people are looking for. So knowing that the resignation for young people, graduates now, is very high, companies nowadays will be even more selective. That's why, if you were to ask me, starting from the self-care, just this one small thing can really help you to build your resilience, build your confidence. Then I guarantee you, no matter where they chop at you, no matter where the situation throws you, you are still able to, solve it and still able to go through that, with the strength that you have. And, of course, definitely, when you are strong, you will always be able to inspire other people. So for me personally, I'm only a senior executive. I have a team that works well with me. I try my best to make jokes, try to make the situation less tense. Of course, jokes that don't hurt people, obviously. So jokes about myself, or whatever it is. So it helps to regulate the situation and, make things less tense. So that's actually one of the very important components to have as a leader as well. So how do you inspire the team? You don't force people to do things that you want. So when you have that, everything within you intact, then I believe that no matter where you go, surely you can overcome every adversaries. So that's all from me.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ruby, for the interesting story. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, you heard her, everyone. Stress is inevitable, you cannot avoid it, and when you realize that your head drops every single step you take, that is the wake-up call. You should be mindful of your situation right now. So what can we do as a leader, and of course as followers who are equally important as the leaders? You should actually release the negative vibes that's standing up in you, and you should of course find the way that is catered for you. If you are an introverted person, you just find maybe a quiet way to actually release it. It's alright. And big things start small. So if you want to be someone who is a big gun, like you want to be someone successful, as our three of our panelists here today, you gotta start small, which is self-care, because that's where your strength comes, your power comes. And it starts from something trivial, like maybe take a walk outside just to breathe in the fresh air. But of course, if you want to help others as well, if you actually have room for that, as a leader, maybe you can actually influence your followers and inspire them. And if you are a follower, of course you can do something as well as making jokes, like Miss Ruby did, although she's a leader. But that is how we make difference in the world and make small changes, and the small changes will actually snowball into something big. And that might happen in future, so don't actually neglect yourself as well as others. Thank you so much, Ms. Ruby, for the eye-opening opinion. I strongly believe that this can really give the audiences awareness to always prioritize self-care. Last but not least, let us hear from Mrs. Anita. We can't lead others if we don't care for ourselves. Once said Dr. Kenzie Gilchrist. So how can we educate people that women have the right to have time for their self-care? We can see that most women normally put the needs of others before their own at the expense of our health.
Thank you very much, Samantha. It's actually a very important question. I feel it's such a strength, and it's so powerful and inspiring at the same time, truly, being a woman in that context, because we always put other people first, which means, and when we reflect upon it, means that we have a lot of empathy, a lot of love to give others, and especially to our own, family. And I think I'm so guilty of it. And again, this was one of the contributing factors to my mental health challenges as well. Because when I first became a mom, naturally everything became about the children. And you never stop and pause to think about, what about yourself? How do I take care of myself? Where is me time in that sense? So you don't invest in all these things. And I think Ruby said it so accurately. Thank you so much, Ruby, that just from that self-care routine that you invest now and do it consistently can go a long way and can prevent you from a lot of these challenges that might happen. And so I think for me, when I was, really in a very difficult situation, reflecting back, I think there are a couple of things that really needs to happen in order for you to become more resilient, right? So resilient is like a muscle, you've got to really work on it. So first, I think Elizabeth mentioned it a little bit, which is that routine or that schedule that you need to have and invest on. It doesn't have to be rigid, guys, but it's so important because it really helps to declutter the mind. Sebab kadang-kadang kita serabut and there's so many things in our mind, in our brain, and things that we need to do this week, next month, etc. So if you have that routine, if you have that schedule, you are able to organize and plan more effectively. I think this is so important. And another thing that especially for students is to have that healthy boundary, guys. You really need to have that boundary. And of course, if you're new to the workforce, it's so funny when Ruby mentioned just now about forcing people to do things that you want. It's another word of, you would like to encourage, your employees, people under you, to do things. And of course, being leaders, because I'm an employer, I lead a lot of people in the workforce, and you have to really be very resilient and also take care of yourself every single day. And I feel that self-reflection again is very important, and before you go to bed at night, really thinking about one thing that you could have changed today that you did, because obviously we all make mistakes. And I think Elizabeth mentioned earlier about that sounding board. That's also really important, having that, because you want people that you can trust, and usually it could be your mom, your dad, maybe an elder sibling, husband or a wife, because you want somebody to really tell you, okay, what you did was incorrect, you could have done it this way or a better way. I think these are all really important things, and taking time out for yourself, but also at the same time not feeling guilty while doing it, right? Don't be ashamed about doing it, because I find that a lot of women and wives and moms usually feel ashamed to ask for their help and to take that time out, like calling your mom or calling someone that you trust to just take care of your child for a while, and then you get that time out, or even expressing it to your husband, like, look, I'm tired today, I think I need a little bit of rest time, or I need to go out for a drink with my friends, can you take care of the of our kid, just a couple of hours as an example. So don't have that guilt in you. It's really important, again, that self-care, that time out, that me time, and then when you come back, you're happier, you come back, you feel fresher. You feel, you're able to now, give, all this, whatever it might be, because a lot of times we give so much, and then we don't take much for ourselves. So we need to really credit that mental health account, credit that, physical health account, so that now we're able to take care of other people, because investing in yourself, taking care of yourself, a happier you, a more focused you will, with having all these things, will enable you to give, more to other people. Because at the end of the day, that role of a wife and the mom, it doesn't end. Even if your child is 50 years old, you will always be that mom. And then you become a grandmother, then a great grandma, so that part of it really doesn't end. But just investing in that one tiny bit of that self-care again can really go a long way. But again, kudos to all women out there. And one thing that I really want to point out, one of the great lessons that I really learned throughout my own struggles, is there's no such thing as a super mom. There's no such thing as a superhuman. Okay, please understand this. So don't be embarrassed or ashamed or afraid to seek for that help that you very much need and require. So invest in yourself.
Thank you, Mrs. Anita. Yeah, women tend to be more empathy and to have more empathy and love for others. And eventually it is debilitating and it will never us whole. Like we are gone, we lose ourselves. And so that's why, as Mrs. Anita said, resilience is a must. So that's when you need resilience. Because like although you are very down, but actually you can recover yourself. But sometimes it doesn't work. We said it's a muscle, and we see people go to the gym, they go every day, isn't it? And it takes them a long time to go from family packs to 6-packs or 8-packs. I don't know. So it takes time to build resilience as well, because we need to practice, we need to do it every day if possible. So using the tips that's given by our 3 panels, we can actually, practice it day by day, one by one, step by step. Take baby steps. It's alright. It doesn't have to be, work wonders in one single night. It won't happen. It will, you will see the progress gradually when after maybe a year or 2 years. And although it will take a long time, but good things take time, isn't it? And right, as Mrs. Anita had stated, all of us are human, and we have the equal rights to be happy and be mindful of ourselves, be taking care of ourselves. You don't have to be shy, you don't have to feel embarrassed for actually, taking care of yourself more than taking care of others. It is your right, and you can do that. So if you feel, as long as you feel comfortable, just do it. Just do as your heart told. So yeah, thank you, Mrs. Anita. We were having a very informative forum session previously, and thanks to all of our panels, Ms. Elizabeth, Ms. Ruby, and Mrs. Anita from MIASA for their sharing. Without wasting time, let's move on to the long-awaited Q&A session. I will take a few questions from the chat box. Alright, so the first question is, which is better, seeking help from a professional counselor or a person that we are close to? This is from YouTube comment section. So anyone from our panelists who wants to answer this question, you may just open your mic. If no, what about Miss Elizabeth? Do you have any opinion about this question?
I think like what Mrs. Anita mentioned earlier, sometimes we do struggle with mental health conditions that are quite serious. When I say quite serious, it's very debilitating. You can't go through your normal daily routines because you are so consumed by the thoughts and the feelings about that condition, right? So in situations like that, of course, it is advisable for you to seek professional help because all mental health professionals are trained to do assessments, screenings and assessments of how your mental health condition is, and then to provide you with the necessary and effective and definitely the latest, interventions or skills or whatever to be able to help you to become better. But then again, we also know of helplines, right? I'm sure you have heard of Talian Kasih, which is the Women's Ministries initiative during the start of the pandemic. You have, I think MIASA also has a helpline, yeah. So all of these different helplines that is available, not all of them are mental health professionals, but they are trained by mental health professionals to provide things like psychological first aid or empathetic listening skills. So these helplines, they are available for you to call in, to talk to and whatnot. And if these people who are operating the helplines feel like you are in need of further assistance, then they will link you up with the professional help that you may need. If it is talking about, because I think mentioned someone that you are close to, I think so long as the person that you are close to is someone who's open-minded enough to listen and to really be that safe and comfortable space, that trusting space for you to share whatever doubts that you may have, and they are able to hold you accountable to it, then why not? But we have also heard of cases where I work in a school, so I have heard of cases where my teenage clients or my young adult clients, they would tell their family member, they're close to their family member, and it doesn't go very well. The family member then accuses them, oh, you brought this on yourself, why can't you do this, that. So that can be hurtful, right? That can be harmful. So I think it's as long as you are seeking help from someone that you know is going to be able to give you that safe, comfortable, protective, trusting space for you to share, and they're not going to impose things on you, then sure, go ahead. No issues there.
Yeah, so maybe there's no so-called like which alternative is better for this question. Like as long as you're comfortable with and you successfully got help from others, maybe you can just tell your family first. And if that doesn't work, that's when you can resort to professional counselor where they are trained and licensed and they know what's best for you. So,
Sam, can I just add really quickly?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the stage that you're in. If it's disrupting your daily lives, then at that point that seeing a mental health professional is really important, so that you can get the clinical assessment and then a diagnosis if it indeed leads to that. And then once you know it, then you can begin that journey to recovery. And the other thing is for all of us to really understand that not everyone needs clinical intervention when it comes to mental health struggles. So this is when that role of a trusted person comes in. So it could be a family member, it could be a trusted friend. So just by talking to someone where that person can hold space and validate what you're going through, coming from that place of empathy and
so maybe
compassion.
sometimes we can get that. Yeah.
So coming from that place of empathy and compassion, so this is the difference in that sense on how you would start. And so if you're familiar with the World Mental Health Day, I think it was in 2019, WHO came out with a theme which is depression, let's talk. So just encouraging safe conversations where people can begin to talk about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe before we actually, get into a very, very serious situation, maybe we can prevent it by having a talk to others. And when that doesn't help and you gauge the condition and that is where things get worse, that's when maybe you can seek for professional help. So Ms. Ruby, do you have anything you want to add on regarding this question?
I think similar like what Elizabeth and Miss Anita said, it comes back to the term in psychology we use is like whether are you able to function or not. So if certain circumstances where you felt like this thing has been bothering me, I've been there before, that this particular situation has been bothering me until I can't sleep, I don't even feel like going out, I can't concentrate, I can't focus in class. So that's where you can try to seek for more professional help. But if it's just, I just need someone to let out everything. Once I blur out everything, then I'm done. Then you could look for a close friend or someone you can trust. So it all comes back to self-awareness. You have to be aware of your own emotions, aware of the stress levels of where you are right now. So from there, it helps you to make better decisions.
Yeah, so as Ms. Ruby has said, you gotta know yourself best, know yourself well. That's when you can actually seek the best alternative for yourself. Move on to the next question. Okay, this is another question from YouTube. How does someone motivate themselves to start a self-care routine? Any panels you wanna answer to this question? You may just open your mic.
Maybe I can start a little bit. Now, personally, I don't have a routine like Elizabeth. I'm on the way there, but haven't there yet. So as a person who is trying to start my own self-care routine, all I would say is take it one step at a time. I don't expect immediately, okay, morning I must do this, afternoon do this, at night do this. No. So it's one step at a time. So for me, mentally mentally, or I would say or emotionally, what I would do usually before I go to sleep, I have a book that write down what are the 3 things that I'm grateful for today. But I try to make it not so stringent. It's either I do it in the morning or at night. So just starting by that actually helps you to, okay, I'm grateful today, my mom is still here and she's actively still can go out with her friends, she's still healthy. I have a very secure job. I have friends who even my friend just got promotion. He's going to Germany end of the year for a year. Also, I'm very happy and I'm so grateful for that. So these small things actually help you. It's only one thing. For physically, I'm trying to play badminton, and also for my own health as well. I try to just tell myself, okay, when I go out, always take ice kosong or tea, and that's it. Don't drink any sweet drinks. So it's like taking that one small step at a time. Slowly you will build up that routine. So that's just my my personal opinion. What can we do? And I think it really helps, because if you were to immediately start a routine just like that, I think it will stress you out a lot. And the moment you didn't fulfill that particular routine of the day, then you'll be stressed out. So why would you want to add on that stress if the self-care routine is supposed to be there to de-stress? Okay, that's all. Maybe Elizabeth or Miss Anita would like to add.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Ruby. I know I know the question was routine, right? But to be honest, I don't really do it every day as well. I think it's very important, if you want to start something, I won't say a routine, if you want to start taking care of yourself, healthily speaking, right? To understand why do you want to do it. Are you doing it because the people in this panel are doing it, right? Are you doing it because it's the right thing to do? The most important thing is you are doing it because you want to. And you are aware about how you want to take care of yourself, and therefore you do it. That's why it can be as simple as finding what is it that keeps you happy. What is something that is always there, that you will always feel that little excitement or that happiness or that joy. For me, it's eating sweet food, like literally. Like I see cake, I'm like, okay, I'm the happiest girl in the world. No matter how sad I am, no matter how angry I am, when I see cake, okay, everything is fine in the world. So simple as that. So to understand why you're doing it, and to understand yourself, of what are the things that really helps you.
Thank you, Miss Ruby and Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, start small. Take baby steps first, because it's your first start of your self-care journey, and you're just a baby in self-care routine. So you gotta take baby steps and start small first. Unless otherwise, if you actually start big and you can't do it, you are disappointed in yourself, and it will actually put you off, and you won't do self-care anymore. And that is actually quite bad, because self-care is supposed to be there to help you. So out of willingness, and if you're doing it for yourself, then I think you are good to go. What about Mrs. Anita? Do you have any ways to motivate one to start a self-care routine?
I think knowledge changes everything. Knowledge is really transformative. So now that you've listened from us, so hopefully that motivates you. But I fully concur with what Ruby and Elizabeth said. Just start small. Once you see that progress happening, that's when it will really motivate yourself. And I think learning and watching videos, it's also really inspiring and motivating at the same time, because I used to do that a lot myself, especially when I watch, you know, the ordinary people, not the celebrities, not the public figures, but really you know, the ordinary underdogs going through, you know, thriving in their recovery journey by doing whatever self-care routine, and how that helped them. So that really, you know, gave me that jump start as well. So that motivates me in that sense. So hopefully that can help you.
Yeah, knowledge as well. So expose yourself to ordinary people that you can relate, and that they can expose, they can give you positive vibes to actually start your self-care routine. That's when you start. So move on to the next question. I'm wondering whether other panels aside from Miss Elizabeth are practicing any self-care in terms of physical. Can you share or recommend any physical activities that will be helpful? Another question from YouTube. So any answers?
Yeah, I think see, right now we are running a campaign called hashtag S6 for MIASA. So what S6 has done, and I think this is really great evidence, where for the past 2 years during the pandemic, their doctors did a research and they found out that if you were to move your body, be it via running, jogging, dancing, any kind of physical movements, for 15 minutes and 9 seconds exactly, it actually helps to uplift the mind. So it doesn't have to be a certain physical activity. It could be anything that, you know, you enjoy, because, you know, like Elizabeth and Ruby was saying, you guys don't like to sweat. So imagine exercising and doing a physical activity and that you don't like, it's even harder, right? So try to find and invest in something that you like. Self-exploration is really important. So don't just play a certain thing, like badminton as an example that was given, right? Just because your friends are playing it, you're playing it. And of course, it pushes you if your friends are doing it. But you know, there's always something for everyone. There's so many different physical activities and sports out there. Could be a team sports, could be an individual one. So again, explore that and invest in that time. So bare minimum, guys, you have to do it 3 times a week to see that progress, to see that changes happening, be it physical health or your mental well-being. You will definitely find it. One of the things that is really helpful for me is breathing exercise. And the reason why I do this a lot is because, you know, 9 years ago when I was first diagnosed, I used to go through a lot of panic attacks. And one of the most effective coping mechanisms for me was actually breathing exercise, and also grounding is one thing, but effective breathing exercise and also muscle relaxation techniques, which involves a lot of physical movements. Yeah, so breathing techniques when you do it, you might feel, you know, Juanita, this not really working for me. Please just keep at it. Continue doing it. I promise you it will work, okay? But you have to practice it. Don't do it when you feel so overwhelmed and now you're going through a panic attack is an example. When you're just, you know, not doing anything, just practice it. So then when something happens,
Recording stopped.
then it can really serve to be very effective, okay? So these are maybe some tips or tools that can be beneficial if we practice it.
Recording in progress.
Consistently. So yeah, hope that helps.
To add on to Miss Anita, I think because the question also said recommend any physical activities that will be helpful. You know, the 3 of us have been talking on and on that it's really entirely up to you. You yourself need to know what kind of routines or physical activities that is suitable for your own self, but we can give some ideas. Maybe another idea that I could share, for me personally, is getting close to nature. I play badminton, and like what Miss Anita said, I did it also because I want to exercise, also kind of because of peer pressure lah. Sometimes it happens because my friend will like, Jom lah, let's go lah, put your name in ah. Then I'm like, okay, fine, then I put. But I'm okay to play badminton, but I don't really like competitive sports, and sweating and feeling stressed that I'm losing. I don't like that. So, but I play, it's okay lah, for friends, it's fine. But what I like to do is to get close to nature. So even yesterday, I actually went out to the park with a few of my friends just to have a walk and look at the nature. Apparently in KL, there are quite a few parks that you can go and explore if you're from KL. So I went to one of the Taman Dusun Banda with my friends. We go there, had a little picnic, and just eat fruits and just enjoy nature and then walk a bit. So walk for half an hour, so still okay. Then I think a few weeks ago, or last month, I went to Taman Negara with my friends. So we did a hiking, went up to the peak of the mountain of Taman Negara, then come back down. So it's very refreshing and it really helps me to de-stress. So that's one of the ideas that I could give you. I personally enjoy hiking, enjoy walks. I don't really like to play competitive sports. I lost to my friends, but it's okay. So it really depends on you, what you want to do. That's just some ideas we can give you.
I think if it's okay for me to say, one thing that I actually do last time when I was staying on campus in university, I like taking walks, and I would actually because I stayed on campus in Sunway, I actually would every evening. I think I remember there was a time every evening I would actually walk from my university to Sunway Pyramid, and I walk the whole place. I will go window shopping, see stuff, just to walk. And then after that, I feel so satisfied that I come back after that. Yeah, so it can just be as simple as walking or window shopping. That's something physical that you can do too.
Yeah, so I guess our three of the panels have actually successfully answered the question. Perseverance is important at least three times a week, maybe 15 minutes and 9 seconds exactly in a day. And do what's comfortable for you. Maybe a walk in the park, or maybe you feel like doing something, jumping around at the spur of the moment. I don't know what you're doing at home, but as long as you make yourself move, then that's what's important. So next question. Accepting that no one is perfect is a way to build self-esteem. What the panels think about it? Question from YouTube as well. So maybe we can start with Miss Ruby about this. Accepting that no one is perfect is a way to build self-esteem. What do you think about this?
Oh, definitely. In Girl Guides, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this one program called Free Being Me. There's this one activity that I really love. So it's the facilitator will ask everyone to share with me, what do you think a perfect woman is like? And people will be like, oh, perfect eyes, perfect body, perfect hair, skin tone or whatnot. Then at the end, towards the end of the session, you ask, actually, does this person exist? Actually, no. So when that happens, I actually see it I've seen it before when I did it, with some of the groups that I've been with, can really see that it changes people's perspective. Okay, no one is perfect, and I guess accepting that really does help. Of course, we all want, especially women, we always strive to be the best version of ourselves. We always strive to be the perfect, like Angelina Jolie or whoever that you really admire in your life. But know that it takes baby steps to reach there. And of course, I personally, I don't think that a perfect person really exists. It's how we see our imperfections perfectly. I don't know if you can get that. How do you see your imperfections perfectly? So even cantik, pretty, beauty is very, very subjective. So maybe to some people, maybe if you were to see maybe Siti Nurhaliza or Nilofa, or people, some people say, oh, Nilofa is very pretty. Some people say, oh, just normal, Siti is more pretty. So it's very subjective. Each person views things differently. So notice and acknowledge that. It really helps you to gain at least a little bit more confidence, because even if personally for me, if many people say, oh, I'm very pretty or whatever, or you're very smart or whatever, but some people will just say, oh, I'm just very average, very normal. So just need to acknowledge where you are right now, and always have confidence that no one is perfect, as I mentioned many times. So maybe the rest, if you would like to add anything.
I think it's very validating when you know that, or when you accept and acknowledge that no one is perfect, right? And which means that it also equates to, you know, everyone struggles, but you don't see it, right? Because some people are silent with their struggles, some people are open about it. And I think that what we need to understand is that, you know, practice is what makes progress. And we all have limitations, but we also have strengths. So amplifying that strength, working on our limitations, I think that is the progress that we want to see and can happen, and embracing it again that nobody is perfect. And I think that's it, guys. Truly. And I think that social media is a platform that maybe, you know, can contribute to us feeling that, you know, the lives of other people are perfect. But that's the thing, right? We don't put ugly photos on Instagram as an example, right? We put, you know, maybe we take 30 pictures and we put the best one. So in actual fact, like what, Ruby was saying, maybe Angelina Jolie, but you know, she's gone through so much in her life. No one is perfect. Everyone is struggling. So yeah, so hopefully, you know, that really gives us some self-reflection. And again, that's why self-reflection is really important. And having that support system and that sounding board, right? Because sometimes we might feel that, you know, we don't have any good things or any strength, but then, you know, the people surrounding us tells us, oh, you know, you're actually good in this is your strength. And you know, that really helps us to really build that self-esteem. And then hopefully from there, that gives you you know, hope and motivation to then push on.
What about Miss Elizabeth? Do you have anything you want to add on regarding this?
Definitely agree with Ruby and Mrs. Anita. I think another thing to consider is this. A lot of people are also not comfortable acknowledging what they are good in. I think especially in our collective culture, right? When people say, "Wow, you look beautiful," or "Wow, you know, you did so well in the exams," or whatever, right? We are like, "Oh, no lah, you know, not me. You know, I'm like using Ruby's example. I'm just an average person. You know, please don't compliment me or whatever." I just want to say this. It is not selfish of us, or it's not prideful for us to acknowledge and to accept compliments, right? But so self-esteem has a lot to do with how you view yourself. Do you feel yourself as worthy? Do you feel as someone as you belong to, you know, this family, this community, or whatever? Are you secure in your identity, right? Are you feeling confident with yourself? You are feeling competent with the skills that you have. Right? It is not looking towards another person to validate who you are. It's how do you validate yourself on the inside. So, you know, that is one way to look at it. If you are someone with good self-esteem, right? Of course, there are times when you do feel uncomfortable with compliments and whatnot, but you don't deny it. You know, you don't put yourself down, rejecting those compliments. You accept it. Right, and you continue to validate yourself from the inside out rather than from the outside in.
Yeah, definitely agree. Like whenever we look at the social media platform, there's always beautiful pictures, gorgeous pictures of others, and then we feel, you know, self-conscious because we don't feel as pretty as they look. But they are just showing their brighter side of their world, their life, and you didn't see their flaws and of course their dark side. So accept and embrace the fact that no one is perfect, and you are a human being. You are allowed to have those flaws, and those flaws itself are equally beautiful as your strength. And if you don't actually fit in the beauty standards that the world are actually encouraging, you formulate your own beauty standards. Because that's how you will actually, you know, feel confident, and you are really, really beautiful yourself, very honest. And so the next question is, if women give more attention to the self-care instead of responsibilities, is that called selfish? Ooh. Any opinions?
But I saw you unmute.
You go first. You go first.
I think it depends on the context, I guess. It really depends on where you are. I speaking as a career woman, so I've been working for 2 years. I've seen two situations. One is if let's say it's during your off day, you're not supposed to work. So let's say you go for a holiday, then your boss texts you or call you, you're not answering or you answer late. It's totally fine and understandable. It's not selfish at all because you are doing something that is out of your working hour, and supposedly if it's out of your working hour, you are allowed to do so. Like if let's say if you have class, during if outside of class suddenly your lecturer call you and then ask you to immediately send, it won't happen, but I mean if example suddenly they shorten the deadline or ask you to immediately send, but of course it comes back to your own responsibilities. In let's say you have a program coming soon or your program is today, but then you know that your program is today, but then you still just ignore it. As a committee, you ignore it, you just go out with your friends, then that is not right. That you don't call it selfish. Actually the term is quite harsh, but it really comes back to the middle ground. Okay, if you have a program going on, you know that you are you're holding a hero, you're on a technical team. Without you, then the program cannot continue. Then of course, if suddenly your friends ajak you go out, or maybe sometimes your family ask you to go out, but knowing that it can help you to de-stress, but you need to settle the program first. So it's really subjective. You must know what are your priorities at that time. But also, that's why it comes back to resiliency. It's so important for you to know what are the responsibilities, and if you have challenge, please. I'm a fan of telling people to don't run away from your problems. If you have a problem, you need to tackle it. Let's say if it's really overwhelmed, you can always revisit it later, but you will always need to face it if you want to settle those problems. So, Elizabeth, your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Ruby. Very well said. Going back to my first answer for the first question just now, right? Self-care is not just for yourself, but it's for the benefit of the people around you also. If your self-care technique hurts other people around you, then that's not healthy. That's not actually beneficial for yourself in the long run too. So self-care is also things like knowing your limitations, knowing your responsibilities, knowing things how to manage your time, drawing boundaries with people, relationship boundaries, etc. I know just now I mentioned I don't actually reply to my emails or messages, check my messages outside working hours and on the weekends. But when I do, but it doesn't mean that I completely switch off. Right? I still have my phone is still on. When I do get work calls from my colleagues saying that something has happened to a student that they're seeing, right? Or I receive messages in our company group, in our organization group saying these things need urgent attention, I will actually address it. Because of the nature of my work, right? But also because I know that the responsibility is there. So like what Ruby said, it depends on you, right? You need to learn how to prioritize. You also need to make sure that when you do your self-care, you don't harm the other people or the people around you. And I think I'll say this as well. If your self-care, so it's not really self-care if you are not mindful about how it's affecting your life and also affecting people. So if you are hurting people, then you probably want to revisit your understanding about self-care and your self-care routine.
Thank you so much from Miss Ruby and Miss Elizabeth. So yeah, if we balance our priorities and responsibilities in this kind of situation, I think we can actually get ourselves at the right position. So thank you so much for answering those questions. It's very insightful, and I think most of us got the hang of it, like how we are supposed to do in our self-care journey. So ladies, now it's time for a photo session. Everyone, please turn on your camera and smile.
Alright, I'll take. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Smile. One more time. Okay, done.
Before our participants leave the YouTube live, please fill in the attendance form that we have provided in the chat box. You have 2 minutes to fill in the form.
Samantha, I'm sorry, is it okay if I leave now?
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Ruby. Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ladies, we are now at the end of the session. On behalf of the Clover Carnival Committee, I, Samantha, your moderator for today, would like to apologize for any flaws or imperfections on our part. And taking this opportunity again, once again, thank you Miss Elizabeth and Miss Ruby for spending your time and thoughts on self-care. I hope everyone had a great time. Our great hope is that all the knowledge that has been taught can be used and practiced in life as best as possible. So before you go, allow me to remind you not to miss our chance to grab our National Clover Guides merchandise. Also, don't forget to follow our Carnival social media at Clover Carnival. This carnival is organized by the National Clover Council, so make sure to follow us too at Projek Clover to get more updates on other programs coming soon. Thank you so much.